Hi, everybody. My name is Jeremy McWells. I'm a part of UCR. I'm the Assistant Director of High School Evaluation and Recruitment. Just give me 1 second to go ahead and share my screen with you all. We'll go ahead and start from the beginning of this particular presentation and we will get rolling. I hope everyone's doing okay out there. I hope everyone is staying safe. And thank you guys for this particular organization for having this opportunity for students to learn about universities and other organizations. It sounds like it's been a successful event thus far. So as I said, my name is Jeremy McWells, Assistant Director of High School Outreach and Recruitment and Evaluation, I should say. I've been at UCR for about a year now, so I'm very excited to share with you everything that I've personally learned about UCR, much more. And just to stay on time, we'll go ahead and get started with this particular presentation. We're gonna stay around for about 45 minutes of the presentation and then have some opportunity for Q&A after that. What makes UCR so much different than the other UCs or different schools and different sectors? I think there are 3 aspects to UCR that are really important to take note here with. Unique, committed, and real. So unique. I appreciate the uniqueness of UCR from this standpoint. We are the most diverse UC. Let's start from the beginning. How about that? We are the most unique or diverse UC in the UC system. So our representation is very much so like Southern California, which is awesome to see. That's something that we definitely hold near and dear to our hearts. You can feel it when you get on our campus. We also have friendly and supportive staff and faculty on campus to make sure everyone feels welcome on our campus. Committed. So we are #1 outside of being a diverse university. I would say #2 would be we are a research-based institution. Before I got to UCR, my other job was to be an assistant director for graduate admissions. And so when I was working with faculty to accept students into their program, one of the first things that I would hear from faculty, where's the research experience? Where's the field work? Where is this? Where is that? Everything pertaining to research is a really big deal for graduate faculty members to see that research on the resume, on the application. So by coming to UCR, you have the opportunity to be involved in research really within your first year. Now, we don't necessarily recommend that for all students, but the opportunities certainly are there to, as soon as you really step foot on campus, to really be a part of various research opportunities. And then real. Just the accessibility, the culture of inclusion, like I said, from our friendly staff and faculty, making you feel included, accessible resources, the campus, even from an accessibility standpoint, is not too big, it's not too small, it's just the right size to get around and feel like you are at your next academic home. So those are our 3 aspects that I would say that make UC a little bit different, UCR a little bit different than the others. And then going to our timeline here. So you can see that UCR wasn't always UCR, right? Back in 1862 is where we got the land grant from. And then moving over to 1907, we were called the UC Citrus Experiment Station. And at that particular point, we were doing a lot of experimentation on citrus fruit. If you go over to the Riverside area, you'll see tons of citrus trees from as far as the eye can see. And before there was such things as the cutie oranges, right? So if you guys like oranges or snacking on the cutie oranges, that was made at UCR. So that's a fun fact and something that, once again, we're really proud of, something that you see in pretty much all grocery stores in the fruit section. We're really happy that we were able to contribute that to the real world. And so you're welcome if you enjoy cuties. And then as you can see in 2019, fast forwarding a little bit, America's fastest rising ranked university. We got that achievement not too long ago. And then even if you dip down to 1979, our first minority UC chancellor, we're also really proud of that. So we've been through our UC and UCR have been through their fair share of changes, I should say. And then moving on to UCR today, right? So today we're looking at around 25,000 plus students, which is actually, you know, like I said, very reflective on the size of the campus. We're, like I said, a medium-sized campus, not too big, not too small. So for instance, like a UCLA and a UC Berkeley are probably gonna be our larger sister schools, while UC Santa Cruz or Merced is gonna be on the lower side in terms of size of schools. And then we have a UCR, which I said is right in the middle. Over 1,100 faculty members, 98% of them have their PhDs and are also full-time. So you talk about the dedication of our faculty members being researchers that share that experience and that field experience with you, so you can get an even higher level of education when it comes to your stay at college. So that's something that we're really proud to have as well. I mentioned the size, right? The size, that medium-sized campus that we offer. So your lecture halls, your lecture classes, your first couple years, you'll be in these lecture halls with 200, 300 plus students at a time, just like we see in the movies and on TV shows. But when you get over to your major classes, so if you're, for instance, if I'm taking a sociology class, and I'm studying, let's say, ethnicity and diversity and race, right? That size of a class, because it's dealing specifically with my major, is going to have a 21-to-1 student to faculty ratio, which has a little bit more of an intimate learning environment to it, something that you can make connections with the faculty member. You can ask questions. You're not just another number. So that's something that is really impactful for students, being able to have that more intimate learning environment with their faculty. 100,000 plus alumni changing the world. That is a stat that is recently, has been recently collected as of the past, I would say 7 to 10 years. So that is a kind of a reflection of, we have recent alumni out there really changing the world. We have some famous alumni as well. So definitely look that up to see kind of where our alumni go and which industries they land in. And then we're talking about academics now, our outstanding academics, and we have different colleges within UCR, and that's how it always works typically with institutions and universities. They have colleges within the college. So starting on our left, we have our School of Engineering, our Marlon and Rosemary Bournes College of Engineering, which offers our BS plus MS program, which is essentially saying that when you get into the College of Engineering, you'll be able to get your bachelor's and your master's within 5 years. So that's something that you would need in terms of meeting the requirements of the GPA, which I think is a 3.6, and a higher SAT score, ACT score. That information is located on the website, but that information is certainly, that path is certainly accessible if you meet those requirements. And then we have our College of Humanities, Arts, and Social Science, which over 60% of our students reside in for their majors, and also carries the only creative writing major in all the UCs. So something we're really proud of there as well. Our College of Natural and Agricultural Sciences, which also carries a BS plus MS program as well. We have our graduate school education, which holds one undergraduate program in regards to education, so that students can access that as well. Our School of Business, which has our AA CSB accreditation, which only 5% of business schools have. That puts us in a pretty elite category. Our School of Public Policy, so if you're interested in public policy, that's certainly an option for you. And then our School of Medicine. Our School of Medicine holds about 30 seats for UCR graduates. So if you just graduated, that particular seat is held for students coming out of UCR. You can major in really any discipline at UCR and apply to the School of Medicine. Why is that? Well, it's because we have advisors to assist you with the application process going into the School of Medicine. So you'll have all the prerequisites down pat. You'll have the correct GPA. You'll have the knowledge base to get you into the School of Medicine before you even start there. So that's something that we're really proud of as well. Our medical school is really, really good, and also an extra incentive, if you will, for students who decide to dedicate 5 years of their work to the Inland Empire. When they're done, they do get tuition assistance for that particular program. So that's an awesome opportunity. The Inland Empire, which we are located in Southern California, is in need with everything going on with more qualified doctors. So that is something that we promote very heavily, so we can make sure that you're getting the best out of the program, and also the community is getting the best coming out of UCR. We discussed this a little bit, groundbreaking research, or some examples right down below, as you can see. And like I said, right as you step on campus, you can have opportunities to be a part of research. And research can take you a lot of different places. I do remember that there was a group of students that created an infant diaper, which essentially, if the infant used the restroom within the diaper, if urinated or any type of form of using the bathroom in the diaper, it would turn a different color through the line. And most of that technology is available for older children now, but at that time they were able to brand it, and they were able to put it in their local Targets and Walmarts, and that got up a lot of attention. You can YouTube it, it's on YouTube right now, and that's something that they were able to generate revenue from. So that was something that was really unique that I hadn't really seen before. You don't see too many research opportunities get connected into larger nationally and in international wide stores, so known stores. So that's something that is an opportunity that pretty much anybody can have. You know, it depends on the quality of research, but you always have the opportunity to go, you know, even bigger and better than the past groups of students that came before you. Academic success opportunities. So if you're like me and maybe you struggle in a certain subject matter, I know for me, it was math. Math was probably my biggest enemy during my time at undergraduate, in my undergraduate years. And so the Academic Resource Center was definitely something that was right up my alley. You have free tutoring, free lessons with writing, essays, and even just general personal growth. That's all for free. Your student fees go towards this. So it's always important to take advantage of the free stuff, right? Take advantage of the resources that we have for you here at UCR. We also have our Education Abroad program. Obviously, with things going on right now, things are at a halt with study abroad. But as soon as things open back up, we are more than willing and prepared to take you overseas and have that experience as well. We have our summer session. So if you are looking to complete a summer course or two at UCR, we have that for you as well. We also have our academic internships which are available within every single major that's offered with UCR. Preparing for careers that pay. So obviously we know that everything that we're doing at the undergraduate level is to prepare you for life after your undergraduate years. And sometimes for people that looks like graduate school, others that's going into the job market. It just really depends on that person's path. As you can see at the bottom here, your bottom right-hand corner, these are all the companies that we work with on a yearly basis to hire our students. As you can see, 68% of our UCR students are employed within 6 to 12 months after graduation. About 88% of job fair employers select UCR students for second interviews. We have virtual career fairs at this particular point because nobody is on ground right now. But even with the virtual fairs, we've been seeing a lot of success with those virtual fairs. Our career center is very hands-on. They're here for you, and they want to make sure that they set you up for success after your time at UCR. So obviously, you know, maybe commuting isn't going to be the best thing from this area to UCR. If you decide to stay on campus, we certainly have our fair share of housing opportunities. And so you're typically looking at two different types of residence halls. You have our traditional residence halls, which you can see up top in red, and then our suite style residence halls, our campus apartments, which you can see down low. Now, campus apartments are typically made for upperclassmen, while the residence halls, the traditional residence halls, are going to be made for our incoming freshmen. We also have our new building, as you can see in the green to my left, your left probably as well, the new Dundee Glasgow building, which offers everything from a bakery, a fitness center, a retail space. There's a ton of stuff in that particular hall, and incoming freshmen can reside there as well. So that's something to keep an eye out for, as you folks who are applying this particular year will have the ability to live in this particular space. And you'll be the first ones to live in there. So that'll be a unique opportunity. Getting involved and staying active. You know, obviously a part of college is, of course, putting the academics first and making sure that you stay focused and make sure you're getting the best out of that. But also a part of it is having fun and enjoying yourself. And we certainly have all the options to do that with, to network, to be social. We have over 500 student organizations. We have Greek life as well. So that's an awesome opportunity to get involved on campus too. We have our block parties, our spring splash concerts. As you can see in the back, this is kind of a blurry hipster picture of our spring splash concert. And it looks like a miniature Coachella. It's really, really nice. It's an awesome opportunity to get out and meet people or hang out with your friends. We've had the likes of Lil Uzi Vert and J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar, Key and Peele, Blink-182, Panic at the Disco. So not only do we have music acts, we have comedic acts as well. So we really we're not stingy when it comes to allocating the funds for your entertainment. We want to make sure that you guys are entertained and that you all have the opportunity to be social and just have a good time. This is college. This is really the only time you're going to be an undergraduate. It only happens once, right? So this is an awesome opportunity for you to get out there and be social. We have gender ethnic programs. We host cultural festivals. For instance, we host the county's Chinese Lunar Year Festival on campus, and just another great way to be exposed to a different culture that might be outside of yours and to be a part of something a little bit bigger than yourself. tons of opportunities to get involved on campus for sure. Health and wellness. And if we know now more than ever that mental health and our physical health is going to be really important moving forward during these times. And so even if you're talking about mental health, where you get 10 free counseling sessions in our psychological service department to go and just speak to somebody, if that's during midterms, if that's during finals, whatever it is regarding or whatever time it is, you have those free 10 counseling sessions to talk to a health professional and to just get it off your chest. And that's really important. Obviously, we have our health options, right? Our physical health options. We have a wonderful 5 million or so brand new recreational facility. It's a recreation building, as you can kind of get a glimpse of it from this gentleman doing the rock climbing. We have rock climbing in there. We have indoor tracks. We have 3 Olympic-sized pools, a lazy river, just about every single weight machine that you can imagine in there. They offer cooking classes. They have people who come out and give massages during midterms and finals. This is like the Disneyland of gyms. I've never seen anything quite as big as this. So we're really proud of it. It's a great time. And if you ever get to end up coming to UCR, this is one of the first places you should probably visit. We also have our Student Disability Resource Center. So if you're a student dealing with a disability, we have everything covered from transportation all the way to note-taking from you. So that's definitely an opportunity that if you are a student that falls in that category, definitely check that out. There are a ton of resources that they can offer as well. We have The Well, which is a student-led, student-focused group on campus. They do everything really from hosting seminars, giving out resources, to even at the end of the day, bringing in the fluffies, the puppies that are meant to de-stress folks around midterms and finals. So it's, like I said, just another resource to make sure that you're getting the best out of your time here at UCR. Everybody's favorite part of the presentation, which is talking about tuition and fees. Tuition and fees shouldn't be a scary conversation for everyone. I just like to say it's really about us being admission representatives, breaking it down to make sure that you understand everything that you're getting into financially. So I like to say that first row of tuition and fees is really going to stay the same. The $15,000 plus is really going to stay the same. That's the only thing that's not going to change. Everything else is going to change dependent on what your particular situation is. So if you're going to stay with your parents, if you're going to stay in the residence halls, if you're going to be on an off-campus apartment or off-campus just in general period, are you going to get your books and supplies online? Are you going to buy them at the bookstore? Are you going to have a car? Are you going to be spending a lot of money for personal expenses? All of these at this particular point are just estimates. They're not the real price that you'll be anticipating. These are just, like I said, simply estimates. Also keep in mind that there is a UC health insurance plan. Our health insurance plan is great. We do have optometrists on campus, dentists, doctors, everything that you really need on campus. So if you're a student that is on their parents' insurance, you may not need this. If you do need health insurance, this is going to be a great opportunity for you to have them for your next few years at UCR. So just understanding that, everything adds up. So it's really dependent on how you set yourself up financially, and also really important to speak to financial aid for more information about how student tuition and fees work. Speaking of financial aid, this is a portion that we talk about all the opportunities that we can give to you financial aid wise and scholarship wise. And so one of our more famous opportunities are the Blue and Gold plan that covers 100% of UC system-wide tuition fees for eligible families earning less than $80K per year. And so this is a wonderful opportunity. It's really comprised of grants and scholarships, various grants and scholarships. Grants are usually going to come federally, while scholarships are going to come more on the institutional side. So, and so for instance, we're talking about grants, Cal Grant, right? Cal Grant is an awesome opportunity, helps out a lot of different students, and certainly helped out me back when I was an undergraduate. So that's going to be the bulk of it, those grants, and then on the back end, those scholarships, institutional wise, to kind of help with that landing when it comes to the amount that you'll be receiving. And then 92% of our undergraduates receive some type of financial aid, while 76%, the need was met with need-based aid. So I think we have a really, really generous admission financial aid package. I have a friend / colleague who was able to graduate virtually debt-free from UCR. So that's something that obviously, as she is now almost in her 30s, she's really thankful for at this particular point. And don't forget to fill out your FAFSA, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are getting those submitted by March 2nd. This does not mean that after March 2nd, there won't be anything available, but this is just kind of the priority deadline, if you will. So you just definitely want to make sure that you're filling out FAFSA. If you hear like, oh, well, I'm not going to make anything, my parents make too much, or I'm not going to qualify, whatever it is, fill it out anyway. You just want to make sure that you know all your options. Filling it out doesn't mean you're taking it. Filling it out just means that you are just getting all your resources together to understand what you have at your disposal. Moving on to admission requirements for freshmen. We kind of already know this at this particular point, so I will go ahead and just go quickly through this. We're talking about your A through G subject requirements, meeting all those subject requirements within the A through G list, and making sure that you finish out strong your senior year. It's really, really important. Unfortunately, my job being the supervisor of the high school recruitment team, I have to make those calls to the students to let them know that they're ineligible because they didn't pass their classes during their senior year. And by that, it's part of the provisions of admissions to make sure that you pass all your senior courses. It's really, really important because it can affect your GPA. So we don't want that. Don't catch senioritis too much. Make sure to complete those senior year courses with C's or better. That's what we want to see. Speaking of GPA, once again, that 3.0 or higher is going to be incredibly important. That is the floor, if you will, on what it takes to be eligible. So within all those A through G courses, we want that 3.0, and then also finishing out your senior year with C's or above, once again, just to emphasize that. Examination, standardized testing. I know that this has obviously been a hot topic as of late. I do have a bit of an update there, which is, I would think, really important to hear. We are moving into this test-free zone, which essentially means it's not required for admissions. However, it can be used for things such as placement, for your testing, for your math placement, your English placement, or maybe to meet a requirements. For instance, if you took a subject test in English and you fell short maybe within the English, but we're going to rely on the subject test to meet that requirement, then it can be used for that as well. However, it will not be used as a requirement for admissions anymore at this particular point. So like I said, we're moving into an admission or a test-free zone where we won't be using it as a requirement, but we will be using it for things such as meeting those requirements within the application or for placement. So something to take note there. And we could definitely during Q&A get a little bit more into that if you all have any questions as well. So we're nearing the end of the presentation. So just a few tips and tricks from me to you in terms of the application itself and applying to UC. Make sure you gather your information. Take the time to gather your information. Be proactive. Make sure that you're not stressing out at the last minute. This certainly will help out with that. Take the time to write your PIQs, those personal insight questions. We want to hear from you. We don't need to hear a super sad story. I know a lot of people feel like they need to exaggerate their circumstances. That's not what this is about. If you have a story to tell, tell it, but you don't need to doctor it up at all. We want to hear from the real you. We want to hear from your authentic voice. We don't need to hear a doctored up story. We just want to hear about you. You have obviously 8 to choose from, and then 4 that you have to submit. Complete the UC application sounds like, well, yeah, duh, Jeremy, you're gonna have to complete the application, but you wanna make sure that you're completing it with enough time, you're saving all of your tabs, you're moving forward with the application, and you submit the application on time. As you can see with the dates and the timeline here, as of August, the UC application was open, so it's currently open now. We have the filing period, which is November 1st to the 30th, which is not that far away, people. So make sure that you still work on the UC application and get it in on time. The worst thing that could happen is I get calls and emails saying that, oh, I wasn't able to submit it because my power went out, or, my computer froze, or my computer crashed. Don't give life the opportunity to play its tricks on you and something happens at the last minute leading up to the last hour. So we definitely want to make sure that you're doing this ahead of time so nothing can happen, nothing crazy can happen. And then around March, your fall admission notifications will start to go out. If you don't hear something on the first day of March, don't worry about it. They'll be going out, they'll be rolling out throughout the month. And thank you guys. If you guys want to just scan that QR code to get into our mailing list, that would be awesome. And then also, these are going to be some of the emails on the right upper corner there. To keep in mind, if you're looking to transfer, you can get connected to a transfer counselor, or if you're looking to speak to a incoming freshman representative, you can certainly use that email as well. Follow us on social media, where all of our tags are right there, and you can certainly see what we're up to on a day-to-day basis. I will kick it over to Todd, I believe, for some Q&A, but in terms of my presentation, that's about it, and we'll go ahead and start some Q&A here.
Perfect. Now, just to confirm, I think I heard your name was Jeremy?
Yes, correct, Todd.
Okay, perfect. So Jeremy, thank you, by the way, for helping us. And I know that you were kind of a late substitute. So we normally have a rep here for Imperial County at UC Riverside. He had to take another meeting, and so you were able to pinch hit. So we really appreciate it. So a number of, obviously, any UC school is going to be a very popular school. We have a lot of questions for you. So if you don't mind, let me kind of ask a couple real quick. A couple of them came in earlier and we answered them, but just wanted to confirm if somebody had this, maybe the same question. They want to know, hey, do you have bio majors? Do you have psychology majors? Do you have criminal justice? If they wanted to know specifically what type of major you would offer, they could certainly go to your website. Is there a quick place that they could check that out on your website?
Yeah, I think I could certainly put that in the chat after it's all said and done, but, just look up UCR majors on Google. I believe it's ucr.edu/majors. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the website, but I will certainly put it in the chat, but the website's always going to be the best place to go, as it has a detailed list of all of our majors. And you can also connect to the majors website, the college website, with that link too. So really important just to refer to the website on that.
All right, perfect. And now I'll jump into this topic here first. Did I hear you, Jeremy, say that you're part of the admissions team where you might be, are you reading, does that mean you're reading applications when they come in a couple months?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm actually the supervisor for that entire unit. So yes, that is indeed, I do a little reading myself, and yeah, that's my team's job to do the reading once those come in.
All right. Now, I mentioned that, if I could have you on the side here, Jeremy, if I mentioned that to students, because the things that are coming out of this guy's mouth right now, I would very much pay attention to. Okay. So, Jeremy, as you're talking right now, a question that came in earlier, and we always have it as a typical question as well. What are you looking for when you're admitting students into your school? So that's a big question. Let's narrow it down to those personal insight questions, or they're not questions, but personal insight essays. What are you looking for? Now, do students have to write on all of them? Do they just write on some of them? And if you remember in years past, students that really stood out, what were maybe some unique things about those students that you would encourage students to think about including in their personal insight essays?
Sure. Yeah, I think whenever you're talking about PIQs or those personal insight questions, you want to be honest, you want to be transparent, you want to show leadership. You want to, and please, like I said before, don't doctor up a story just because you feel like that's the direction you need to go. We don't need to hear any false narratives or false stories. We just want to hear about you. So however you decide to approach it, those are typically the aspects that we look for. If you won any awards, this is a great time to kind of mention that on with some of the subject matter. We know that we're also going to see and hear a lot of COVID-19 and how that came into play in folks' life. Don't rely. What I would say is don't focus on one subject for too long, right? So I wouldn't mention COVID-19 in every single question. You do have to choose 4 out of the 8. There are 8 questions available. You only need to choose 4 of those. So for those 4, like I said, try to mix it up. Try not to repeat yourself on those questions. We want to hear from the real you. Your authentic voice is what those who run the UC like to say. So I think those are just some general aspects there on how we typically like what to see in those PIQs, and how students can typically separate themselves from the competition there.
Good. Thanks, Jeremy. Now, if by chance you were to deny my application as a student, and then I chose, like, I really want to go to UCR, so I'm going to go to a community college route first, what would be the option? I know that there's things called tag agreements. Is UCR one of those universities that does that? Or how would a student go from what's the best chances of a student doesn't get in, or maybe they just choose financially to go to community college, to go from high school to community college and then into UCR?
Great question. Yeah, so we do uphold the tag agreements at UCR as well. So that's something that is great from a reader standpoint. We are supposed to give really our priority to those tag students. So essentially what tag is a transfer admissions agreement. And that essentially gives you priority when you apply because you met the requirements, you've met the prerequisites, you met the GPA, and you are the first to get read in that transfer group. Transferring is a great option. I was a transfer student. I didn't go to UCR during my undergraduate years, but I went to another school and I transferred in, and I'm doing all right. So I think at the end of the day, if you're looking to transfer, that's certainly a viable option. It's an alternative option. They also have TAP, which is a transfer agreement planner, which is a great way to kind of just have all your classes organized and make sure that you're following the right classes. You know, just because you're taking classes at the community college doesn't mean every single class is the right one. You have to be taking classes that are following the UC protocol. So classes that are UC transferable, TAP assists with that. So look into TAG, look into TAP if you're looking to transfer in. It's a wonderful route to take if you're choosing not to go into as an incoming freshman, if that's not the way you want to come in.
Great. Now, those are acronyms that relate to community college. So if I'm a high school senior right now, by the way, this the assumption of the audience right now is high school seniors, class of 2021, and their families, and there's counselors that are tuned in as well. Maybe there's a little brother or sister who are watching as well. But the assumption is next year they're going to be in college somewhere. And so if they choose to do a community college first, it would be really important as they start planning out even their schedule at IVC, which is our community college, that they have that tag agreement in their hand, or they have that TAP agreement in their hand, so that they can really plan out their schedule from day one. And you can get that from a combination of your high school counselor, probably has a good source on that, and your community college counselors will be able to get that. So it's really important that you begin to plan your college experience starting your freshman year, even if it's at IVC.
And
Okay,
Scott,
now,
may I add something? May I add
sure.
something to that? Because you just hit on something I wanted to make sure I emphasize. Communication is going to be the key. I know when I was in community college, if you're looking to transfer in, I don't know why, but I feel like I wasn't as proactive as I could be in community college. So if you're a student that is going into community college, don't be overwhelmed. You definitely want to be aggressive with your communication. Talk to the counselor, as Todd said, make sure that you guys are on the same wavelength when it comes to understanding. And my personal advice to you all, when it comes to the community college, try to stick with one academic counselor. Continue to go back to that counselor, build a rapport with that counselor. That certainly helps in the long run. Sorry to interrupt you, Todd. I just wanted to add that.
No, it's perfect. I'm glad. And once again, anytime the person who's admitting students wants to make a point, we want to stop and listen. Now, the perception that we often have at a UC school is it's very prestigious. And so that's great news, but it also can be somewhat intimidating. So if I'm a student who is a little intimidated by going off to college, can you share, are there academic support programs? What happens the first time I take a test and I flunk the dumb thing? What is there programs that I can find some support academically on your campus?
Absolutely. Our Academic Resource Center is wonderful. They hire students to teach, to tutor students, students who have really passed with flying colors consistently within that particular discipline. So you're hearing from students and getting taught by students who have taken that faculty member multiple times, have a relationship with that faculty member, understand how that faculty member likes to grade. For me, my struggle back in the day, and still today, it was and is math. Math is not my point of strength when it comes to academics, period. And so when it came to that, I had to be in my Academic Resource Center constantly, taking advantage of that free tutoring, taking advantage of those free writing lessons. And I would definitely say it's going to be the same game for you all. If you guys have a struggle in a particular discipline, be aggressive day one. As Todd said, well, if you flunk your first exam, it doesn't mean, hey, I'm packing my bags tomorrow, I'm going back home, college isn't for me. What it means is you need to spend more time in the Academic Resource Center, and all of it's for free. They are more than willing to help. And so that's a great place to start if you come out the gate and you stumble a little bit.
Great. And as far as finding places of connection, there are assistants, there's things with academics. What about culturally? Presumption, we're not going to be commuting from our homes in El Centro or Calexico or Brawley. We're going to move up to Riverside and live there. That's a bigger city than our little country places. So what is student life like? And is there places, I guess, there's most of our students here in Imperial County, typically a large majority of them are first generation students. Are there programs and associations and affinity groups for students who look like all of us here in Imperial County?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our facility, which is right next to the building that we're located in. It's called Costco Hall, almost like Costco, but Costco Hall, which has all different types of affinity groups and spaces for those affinity groups. So if you're talking about our LGBTQ resource center, if you're talking about our African American resource center, our Latino resource center, our Jewish resource center, our Indian resource center, we have a ton of groups represented in that particular building. And every time you go through that building, it's just a great opportunity to kind of peek your head in and talk to some folks that you may not be used to interacting with, to expose yourself to some cultures that you may not be exposed to on a daily basis. So that's an awesome opportunity. By nature, you could, and this is kind of a testament to UCR's commitment to building a culture at UCR where everyone can feel comfortable with, but we did have, the first LGBTQ resource center. We also are an Hispanic serving institution by nature. We also have, we're the #1 ranked university when it comes to social mobility, according to US News and World Report, which means we're taking the funds from the government, allocating them to the student for tuition purposes, and then they're graduating at a 4-year rate. So for minority groups and groups who are first generation, that means a lot to us and for you all, because at the end of the day, you are coming into a culture at UCR where the culture is, and you graduate in a amount of time. We're not gonna mess around or play games. We want you to get in and get out and be well prepared when you are leaving UCR. So that's just to kind of set the stage for what to expect when you come here to UCR.
Great. And Jeremy, if you have any kind of ending thoughts or some other points that you'd like to make, maybe kind of collect your thoughts on that. And I want to encourage students that if they have a question for the University of California, Riverside, or maybe they have a general question about the UC system, we have a UC representative on the line right now. And you can ask in the question and answer tab at the bottom of the screen here. Move your Zoom mouse around and you'll be able to see that Q&A tab. Feel free to type in your question right now. We'll moderate those and ask Jeremy before he leaves. Now, Jeremy, UC Riverside is just down, I guess, just up the road, kind of north of us here in Imperial County. Depending on where you live at in Imperial County, it's probably could even be less than 2 hours away from where students are watching this webinar right now. You mentioned a lot of things about your presentation, and on the screen, if students chimed in a little bit late, there's a lot of good contact information on the screen. Maybe if you could just go over again some steps that students would do today. I think if I'm looking at timelines, I think tomorrow's October 1st, so that's when FAFSA opens. There might be a couple other upcoming things you want to maybe remind some students about and give any summary thoughts, but we really appreciate your time today. And at the very end of the session, when you're all done, my colleague from Imperial County Office of Education, Denise Cavignia, she'll come in to kind of wrap some things up. But I definitely want to say thanks, Jeremy.
Absolutely, Todd. Thank you for having me. And I would say to any, kind of final thoughts here, I would say #1, if you don't think that college is for you, I would say, look at me. I was a student that barely graduated high school with like a 2.7, no, not even a 2.7, it was a 1.7. It was really bad. And I took the steps and I went to community college and I stayed there for a while and I transferred to a 4-year. And, after that, after taking a break, I got my master's and things started to fall into place. And obviously I'm really satisfied how it went. So I say that to say, don't sell yourself short, be aggressive, apply to the UCs. If you're not going to apply to UC, apply to a community college and try to transfer into a UCR. So be aggressive. #1, I would say, stay at it, be aggressive. #2, once you get there, don't ever leave a resource not touched, right? So at the end of the day, take advantage of everything that we have to offer. Your student and your tuition and your fees paid for these things. You should get the most use out of these resources that you have. If that's going to the gym, taking a part of intramural sports, getting some cooking classes, studying abroad, going to the Academic Resource Center, going to the Career Center or the Career Fair. You should, by the time it's all said and done, you should have experienced a little bit of part of every piece of UCR that we have to give. So I would say those two pieces: stay aggressive and also take advantage of every single resource that we have to give at UCR are going to be just a great starting point there in terms of final words.
Perfect. And before you leave, Jeremy, a question just came in last second. Is it required for a student to live on campus their first year at UCR?
It is not. It is not required. At the end of the day, we do obviously understand it with these times, with everything that's going on with COVID, and we don't know how long it's going to last. There is definitely flexibility. You do not have to live there your first year. It's encouraged. And obviously that's dependent on the capacity that we can hold students and what the pandemic looks like, but it is not required, it is only encouraged.
Fantastic, Jeremy. I popped in midway through your presentation and man, have I remembered so many things and just new things that I learned. We can't express how grateful we are to have you with us today and for that very thorough presentation, not only on UCR, but on the UC system. Those PIQs are always an area that we want to encourage our students to really take advantage of, because that's like their interview, right? That's the way we show UC all the wonderful things that Imperial County students bring to the table. So thank you so much for joining us today. We'll look forward to seeing you and your colleagues, hopefully at Higher Education Week 2.